So now I have the opportunity to give you the progress report and let you know how we've been doing as a Marion County Reentry Initiative in the last several years. So we start out with prison reach-ins. This is the first stage of community corrections. Used to be the first stage is when people got out, they reported to their parole officer. But now, 90 days or so before people are released, we actually have parole officers, people from nonprofit agencies go into the prisons to meet with people. They provide workshops on housing, employment, pro-social activities. We also, more recently, and primarily because of discussions that started at this breakfast, started a mental health program for people who are severely mentally ill. And there's a qualified mental health provider that works through the Salem Free Clinics that goes in and can actually prescribe medication so that the person that comes out that's on medication doesn't, after 30 days, have no more medication and have no one to actually prescribe it for them. So this was something that best practices that people are supposed to do. It's working really well. But one of sort of the data pieces that we didn't really anticipate that would happen is that the no-show rate went way down when they started doing reach-ins. So it used to be about a third of the people that came out of prison, everybody's supposed to come and report, didn't come and report. And now it is roughly 3%. So the reason is, and we haven't done evaluation surveys, but I think anecdotally people will tell you, they know who they're going to meet with. They've built a relationship. It's not a scary thing. The anxiety goes down. And so everyone that gets out says, I already know who I'm supposed to report to. So that's a real successful aspect of the Marion County Reentry Initiative. You also heard on the video about the SOAR Program, Student Opportunity for Achieving Results. This is a program that's on Chemeketa Community College's campus. It's about 25 guys meet on campus, and I believe it's for 12 weeks, not for 2 weeks. I think that's a typo. And then they meet for another 12-week follow-up. There have been more than 300 that have participated since 2010. I actually spoke the other day at the orientation for the next class, and it includes a whole lot of aspects: employment, cognitive programming, alcohol and drug treatment, even parenting classes are a required part of the curriculum. So we compare the results, the graduation rate for the SOAR clients of 57% to what our traditional rate was of people who were successful in treatment. And you can see these are guys that are high and medium risk, so they're not the easy ones. They're the ones that come out that have a lot of work to do. And they're very successful in this program. Another aspect of the program, the entire reentry program that's interesting in terms of treatment, is that it used to be that people would be assigned to go to treatment if they had a substance abuse problem, whether they were ready or not. And what they found is that that low success rate really happened when you kind of mandated someone to do something that they weren't prepared to do. They weren't prepared to do the work. So now we assess with tools that are validated and reliable. And the folks that go into treatment are the ones that are really ready, and the folks that aren't ready go into cognitive programming. And that has increased our overall success for treatment substantially. The Munis Resource Center, it was the Munis Pine Street Resource Center, but it recently moved out to Almsville Highway, was the vision and the dream of former Chief Justice Paul Munis, hence it's named after him. This is a program where people can come. They can find opportunities for housing, for employment. They can work on a computer lab. They can have a job coach or navigator, and actually Derek is one of the navigators now, and you'll hear about him in a moment. They have help in obtaining driver's licenses with health care. You can see all of the different pieces of the pie there: self-sufficiency, education, and so on. So it's a really comprehensive program for people coming out, and kind of a hub and a place for people to go to find out what's available for them in the community. One of the new programs that Chief Justice Munis was very interested in, now that he is retired and has a new life teaching at Willamette University Law School, is he wanted to get the law students involved in helping people who were coming out of prison. So he has established a legal clinic at the Pine Street, at the Munis Resource Center, and they've actually been working just this year, and you can see the statistics there, have dealt with 39 cases, a lot of them in domestic relations, some in expungement and debt issues, and then a variety of other issues. So that program is very successful, and we look forward to it continuing in the future. In the employment coaching, one of the things we noticed when we were gathering the data, and we gather a lot of data, a lot of statistics, and we take a look at it as a Marion County Reentry Council, is that the employment coaching, if you see, a lot of people came one time for coaching, and then a few came a second time, a few a third time, a few a fourth time, and so on. What we would like to achieve, and one of the reasons that we've actually moved the center to Almsville Highway as part of an evidence-based project, is to see more intensive work going on at the resource center. And so this will have the opportunity, because what research says is that if you just drop in one time and get a service, it's really hard to say, well, because you dropped in that one time at the resource center that it made a difference in your life. But if you're involved more intensively in the program, you can actually evaluate it and see the connection there. So that's something that we're going to work on in the next year. And then I know there are discussions, the sheriff has been working with community members, including Justice Munis, about where the permanent home will be for the resource center after this temporary move. Employment has been the focus of our breakfast this morning. We have a growing list of employers who are willing to work with our parole and probation officers to place clients who have been through these intensive programs and they're working to better their lives. More than 100 employers. And Deb Giard, and Deb, would you raise your hand or stand so people can see who you are? So if you are an employer here today and have been moved by what you've seen and think that you might like to take an opportunity to join with the Marion County Reentry Initiative, Deb would love to talk to you after the breakfast, or hand her your card and she will call you, come to your place of business anytime that is good for you. Some of the things that we look at and that Deb helps with, and you saw that in the story about ABC Windows, is so what are the policies? Because oftentimes we have HR, human resources people, and they're wonderful people and they have lots of rules that they know and love and need to apply, and they don't always work for the individual circumstances of everyone who is in the community. And so we're not asking folks to make their workplace unsafe. We're not asking folks to bend the rules to the point where it's not legal. What we're asking people is within the law to take a look at what your policies are and how you might adapt those policies so that people that you saw in the videos that are motivated, they're trained, they have strong motivation and will be great employees, can have a shot, can have an opportunity to be employed in this community. And as Dick Withnell said, to take a look at them one at a time and to do that through the workplace that you're involved with. So the last data that we have here is the big indicator. This is what we look at as a group constantly, and what the state of Oregon looks at. What is our recidivism rate? Recidivism, I say that 3 times fast. So recidivism means a new felony conviction within 3 years of release. So when you look back to 2006, which was about the time that we were just starting the training and putting the pieces together, reorganizing parole and probation to follow evidence-based practices and implement the Marion County Reentry Initiative, about a third of our clients were going back into prison within 3 years of getting out. As you can see, over the course of the next 6 years, that had dropped pretty substantially. And then there was a little tick up between 2012 and 2013. So it got down to 17% and then back up to 21%. And Commander Jeff Wood, who gives these presentations all the time, would tell you, and I'm looking at him to make sure I get this right, this is a 3-year look back. So the people that we're looking at in 2013 actually are people that got out 3 years ago. Is that right, Jeff? And so the people that got out 3 years ago, we had some reductions in our budget. What happened was we get paid by the state by how many people come into our community. I actually was working with our staff to update our website for the Reentry Initiative, and it said about 700 people come out of prison every year to Marion County. That's what we used to say. You know, I keep a few numbers in my head. That was one of them. Now you hear it's about 600, right? And actually, I think it's a little under 600. So between 500 and 600. It's steadily dropping. That's wonderful, because that means we're not sending as many people back. The only problem with that is if you get paid by how many people you have, you lose money. And we have lost from the state $1.2 million over the past couple years because of our great recidivism rate. Isn't that terrible? All right, so instead of getting rewarded for the good work we're doing, we're not rewarded for the good work that we're doing. So one of the things that has occurred in the legislature this last session, and Senator Winters and Representative Cameron, I want to express my appreciation to both of them for working on this, is that there was justice reinvestment as part of House Bill 3194. And what that means is that there is money. We still get paid by how many people we have, but there's another pot of money that actually reinvests for people that are doing, for counties that are doing good work. And so we've been able to preserve many of our reentry programs and actually expand them a little bit because of that justice reinvestment. And so we are ever so grateful that we have that opportunity to do that, because as you can see, we have really good results. And if we can continue these programs, we can then push that trajectory back in the other direction. The second piece of information on that slide is the number of clients who are employed or in school. And as you know, you need to, everybody needs a job to support themselves, and if you're not employed, you need to be training so you can get that job. So the state benchmark, so this is what their expectation is of us, is 35%. And if you look at 2013, the general population for Marion County is 45%, and the SOAR graduates is 61%. So with a lot of assistance, you can see again, this is not your general population. These are medium and high risk offenders are doing very well when they have the supports. So one of our messages to you is that if you are one of those people that believe that, people are once a criminal, always a criminal, and you just want to, put them in prison and throw away the key, this shows actually that programs that help remediate do really work, and that people can turn their lives around. And it's a very important message, I believe. So Dick always talks about return on investment. What's the ROI? So if you look at the most expensive option, it's at the bottom, sending them to prison. That's $84 a day. The SOAR program, which is our most intensive wraparound program, as I mentioned, is $39 a day. So a much significant savings to have people in intensive programming, and that only lasts for 24 weeks, where prison lasts for a number of years. Our Munis Resource Center is $29 a day, our mentoring program, $20 a day, and supervision for high and medium levels is very inexpensive, $12 to $16 a day. So you're getting a great return on investment by the reentry programs and keeping people out of prison and keeping people that have come out of prison from going back. So in addition to the justice reinvestment dollars, we have been privileged to have grants from the Bureau of Justice Assistance called the Second Chance Act grant. We have been a national demonstration project. We were evaluated during this last year, and then we just got word about a month ago that we are the only project in Oregon and one of 9 in the nation that was funded for a co-occurring disorders project. So we're getting just shy of $600,000 over the next 2 years to work intensively with those clients who come out who have both a substance abuse issue and a mental health issue combined. And how do we wrap services around to make sure that those folks are successful? We have a collaboration grant from United Way. We are in our second it's not year, I think the two-year grants. So we're in the 3rd year of getting a grant from United Way. Very appreciative of that. And Randy Franke, who's the director of United Way, is here this morning. We've had a number of private donors. A private donor actually helped us open the Munis Resource Center. Another private donor actually provided the funding for our computer lab. And then the other piece that we have that is extremely important is what we call our client fund. And that's what this slide is about. So all of those grants that I talked about and the money that comes from the state, those dollars are used to hire staff, to pay for facilities, to pay for materials, so that we can provide the programs. But oftentimes, the Resource Center in particular, and they're our gatekeeper for this fund, needs funds just simply to help the client. So the client comes in and they need to get that driver's license. As we heard Charles talk about, you can't be insured if you don't have a driver's license. Very difficult to get a job oftentimes if you don't have that identification, or even to get housing if you don't have that identification. But you have to pay a fee, and if you're not working and you don't have the money, how do you pay the fee? So it becomes a catch-22. People that are trying to get their GED, educational fees, bus passes to get around, because if you don't have a driver's license, it's difficult to get to all of these different appointments or to hunt for a job. Eyeglasses for people who can't afford them. Medical and dental for people that don't qualify for the Oregon Health Plan. So this is where the client fund comes in. And last year at this breakfast, we raised just under $16,000 for that client fund, which was marvelous. That's the most we've ever raised in the 4 years that we've done the breakfast. The first year we raised, I think, about $4,000. So when I spoke to the group out at the orientation for SOAR, I said, you wouldn't believe it. We have 200 people that come to a breakfast. We have bank presidents and the publisher of the Statesman Journal and great employers and government officials that come to this breakfast for people that have come out of prison to provide funding for you so that you can be successful. I said, it's kind of a tough sell. And they all laughed. They thought that was pretty funny. And I said, but it is important because these people all recognize, as Dick said a few years ago, this is a mature ask. This is not for puppy dogs and little children that are, it's really easy to understand, why the funding might go to that program, but this is to make our community safer